Good morning. This is Alan Hollander, and welcome to the morning after for January the 22nd, 2014. And here's some of the stories we're following, or some of the stories that you missed while you were sleeping overnight. We've got a whole range of things that we can talk about, kind of the stories behind the headlines. And, of course, some of the more comedic things are happening with Rob Ford, but we've also got some other headlines worth delving into. So I'll just kind of give you a capsule of what we might cover this morning. Rob Ford, who was seen, they have a video of this, extolling Jamaican verbiage or slur words or something. Anyways, he was drunk. That's the bottom line, in a Jamaican restaurant. We believe it's a Jamaican restaurant. At least it's a fast food restaurant. There's a picture behind, or there's sort of it looks like a Jamaican restaurant. Anyways, we're going to have a look at that story behind that headline. Kathy Dunderdale stepped down as Newfoundland's premier, Newfoundland and Labrador, overnight. Big story in the sporting world, particularly in tennis. Eugenie Bouchard is preparing for her biggest match of her career. It's going to be televised tonight on TSN at 6:30. We'll talk about that. The fact that offshore assets of China's elite have been revealed in leaked records. What else have we got happening? Vancouver's housing is now the second least affordable in the world. Gee, what a surprise. The bike sharing program that Vancouver was trying to get going, that the company has gone bankrupt. Stephen Harper canceled his visit to the Dome of the Rock. We'll talk about that. And what else? The worst blizzard of the year is coming to Nova Scotia, and that's what's happening back east. The polar vortex has invaded the east once again. All right, let's get to it. Let's a little comedy at the beginning here. What can you say about Rob Ford that hasn't already been said? My God, he's the perfect fodder for late night television. Jon Stewart, wait till they get a hold of this video. This is going to be interesting. The guy's an embarrassment to everybody, and his family just keeps enabling him and supporting him on this, downhill plunge. So, Rob Ford admits to drinking a little bit after the new video surfaces. Wait till you see this, this video. After swearing off alcohol, the mayor admits to drinking a little bit on Monday night. Toronto Mayor Ford admitted to drinking alcohol Monday night after a YouTube video appeared today showing him at a restaurant swearing, mumbling, and speaking in Jamaican patois. Whatever patois means, I don't know. To me, it's like Jamaican gibberish. Or there were some swear words. I don't know. Anyways, it was at the State Queen restaurant. Okay, I'm not sure this is a Jamaican restaurant. Anyways, it was at the State Queen restaurant, just to give you the exact address, 345 Rexdale Boulevard in Etobicoke. And by the way, did you know that since all this has come down, his popularity has increased? And I'm sure it's the people that have supported them in the past that are saying that there's nothing wrong with this guy because he's saving us tax dollars. Anyways, it's bizarre that his popularity has increased with those people since all of this has happened. Anyways, maybe they just like underdogs. Anyways, Ford is seen standing at the service counter speaking to a group of people, some of whom appear to be restaurant staff. Throughout much of the minute-long video titled New Video of Toronto Mayor Rob Ford Drunk, Swearing in Jamaican Patois, Ford attempts to use Jamaican slang using the word bumbaclot, profanity in patois, at least 4 times. Okay, that's what it is. It's profanity. The mayor admitted he was drinking alcohol. A little bit, yeah, he told reporters. He had pledged numerous times he does not drink anymore after revelations in 2013 of his crack use while in office. When asked if his Jamaican accent, was offensive, he said, "No, I met some friends. If I speak that way, that's how I speak with them. Some of my friends, and no, I don't think it's discriminatory at all," he said. It's my own time. Have a look at this video. Make your own decision. Ford would not say who drove him to the State Queen. They're chasing me around 5 months. This is what he said in his tirade. They're chasing me around 5 months. They're counter-surveillancing me. He's hiding here. He's hiding here. F off, said Ford in the video, apparently talking about the police surveillance on him and his friend and driver Alexandra Sandra Lisi in the summer of 2013. Toward the end of the clip, a bystander said, "This guy deserves to be better than Stephen Harper." Ford replies, "I am a straight-up guy who goes to TCH, Jamestown, and Jane and Finch." Question. Well, that's a question, he said. Okay. Who goes to TCH, Jamestown, and Jane and Finch? I'm not familiar with those places in Toronto, so I don't know what he means. The video ends up with Ford getting takeout food, saying, "I'm a straight-up guy," while staff compare him to Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Reporters showed the video to Councilman Doug Ford and questioned him about it on Tuesday. "I'm not sure what this video is about," he said. After watching a portion of the video on a cell phone, Councilman Ford said that it was obviously the mayor, though he didn't think it was recorded on Monday evening. Councilman Michael Thompson said he found the video offensive, also telling reporters that it was another sad chapter involving the mayor. Constable Joe Mahevic said the video made him more anxious for Election Day, when voters can sweep the mayor from office. He continues to be an embarrassment to the city of Toronto. So hours after the video appeared, a second one surfaced on YouTube that shows Ford and a man that is believed to be Alexander Sandra Lisi sitting together at what appears to be the same Steak Queen restaurant as seen in the initial video. Tim Stewart, the YouTube user who uploaded the video titled "Ford Was There," commented that he saw Ford. The mayor was not drunk, but rather sitting with a friend and respectable. Not sure how long he stayed, though. Stewart does not exactly know when the video was recorded, though he implies it was on the same day as the first video. CBC has not verified the authenticity of the video. Lisi, described as a close friend of the mayor as well as his former occasional driver, was arrested at a strip mall in October 2013 and charged with possession and trafficking of marijuana, conspiracy to commit an indictable offense, and possession of the proceeds of crime. Shortly after, it was learned that he had also been charged with extortion. He was released on bail November the 1st. There's at least 9 references to the State Queen location in the police affidavit surveillance documents of Lisi and Ford released earlier this month. So, this goes on and on here about Ford's past. I mean, have we had enough of this guy? I don't know. Anyways, the video was analyzed by experts, and what they say is that the words are slurred and drawled, trailing off haphazardly into the middle of a barely coherent tirade. But the Jamaican swear words peppering the latest controversial video of Toronto Mayor Rob Ford would pack a much more definite punch if uttered in everyday conversation. Jamaican Canadians familiar with the pathos, I hope I'm pronouncing this properly, my apologies to any Jamaican people that are listening. It's Patois, so maybe it's patois, spoken on their native islands, say the words bumbakalot and rasclot have the potential to be extremely offensive when used in the right context. They said the latest Ford video, which depicts the scandal-plagued mayor hurling the expletives, may well be one of those situations. It's difficult to pin down specifics in the video, which was taken late Monday night in a northwest Toronto restaurant. Okay, that's it. We're done with the word with Rob Ford. All right, in Newfoundland and Labrador, the province's 10th premier took over reins from Danny Williams in 2010, if you remember. Kathy Dunderdale, in a surprise move, is poised to resign Wednesday as Newfoundland and Labrador's premier. She has come under fire for a lack of ability to connect with voters, and she'll be meeting with members of the governing Progressive Conservative Caucus in St. John's on Wednesday morning. Dunderdale is expected to speak publicly in the foyer of Confederation Building after the morning caucus. Finance Minister Tom Marshall is expected to take on the role of interim premier. Marshall has already indicated he will not be running in the next provincial election. So what's the story behind the headline? Well, she cut short a vacation after Tory backbencher Paul Lane crossed the floor Monday to join the opposition Liberals. Lane blamed Dunderdale for poor leadership and for being out of touch with the public. But Dunderdale's leadership has been in question for months preceding the defection of Lane, a rookie who chaired the Tory caucus for much of the last year. Dunderdale and the Tories have trailed other parties, showing only a modest improvement in the most recent public opinion polls. So she's kind of part of this conservative, the distancing herself from the troubles that the Conservative Party have been under, in particular the Prime Minister. And according to an online Angus Reid poll released last week, Dunderdale again trailed all other premiers in terms of popularity. Early on Tuesday, former provincial cabinet minister Trevor Taylor, a Dunderdale confidant, told CBC News that no one expected Dunderdale to lead the party into the next election. Taylor said that he expected Dunderdale was thinking about her future recently and will do the right thing. Gee, you think maybe Stephen Harper might do the right thing and resign? I doubt it. So, Dunderdale succeeded Danny Williams, if you remember, when he resigned from public life in late 2010. She led the Tories actually to a convincing majority government in the October 2011 election on a campaign that focused on making Newfoundland and Labrador an energy warehouse as well as physical prudence. She withstood criticism over the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric megaproject despite sharp criticism. And polls show that most people in Newfoundland and Labrador supported it, but lost significant public support with last year's job-cutting budget. Newfoundland and Labrador has fixed-date election legislation, with the next one scheduled for October 2015. However, Dunderdale's departure could mean an earlier election, and the House of Assembly prescribes that when a premier resigns with more than a year to go before a scheduled election, a new election must be called within 12 months of a successor being sworn in. So, there you go. Could be a quick election. All right. That's what's happening in the Maritimes. Let's talk about something very, very pleasant. Eugenie Bouchard, who is Canada's darling now, both in terms of her tennis proficiency, her physical appearance, her good looks. She's taking Canada on this flight, shall we say, into a world that we haven't experienced. For 30 years. She's going to face China's Li Na on Thursday, actually. I thought it was tonight at... Oh, you know what? It is Thursday because Australia's a day ahead. So it's on tonight at 6:30 on TSN. Montreal's Eugenie Bouchard has been preparing for the Australian Open semi-final her entire life. Bouchard became the first Canadian woman to reach a Grand Slam semi in 3 decades with her 5-7, 7-5, 6-2 quarterfinal win over former number 1 Anna Ivanovic on Monday. She faces China's Li Na on Thursday in the Australian Open's Final 4. This is something I've been doing since I was 5 years old and working my whole life for and sacrificing a lot of things for, she said. So it's not exactly a surprise. I always expect myself to do well. I'm just happy to have gone through this step. I'm not done. I have a match on Thursday. I'm just looking forward to that. Bear in mind, she's only 19 years old. And like I say, they're talking about this for Thursday, but in Australia's a day ahead. The semifinal pairing of the 19-year-old Bouchard versus the 31-year-old Li, who won the 2011 French Open, has captured the attention of tennis fans around the world. Li has played 2 of the last 3 finals at Melbourne Park. That kind of World Tennis Association rep does not bother the confident Bouchard, whose ad hoc genie army of a dozen or so Aussie fans will surely be out in full force for the showcase event. Li's a great champion. She's won a slam. As well, it's going to be really tough, said Bouchard, playing in the main draw of a major for only the 4th time. I played her once in Montreal 2 years ago. We had a close match, one of my first bigger matches. It will be interesting to play her. I know she's very solid, very good from the back. It's going to be hard, but I'm looking forward to it. Besides her tennis, it's Bouchard's bubbly personality that has captured fan fancy. With commentators already labeling, I'll be all right. It's hump day. My tongue is stuck in my mouth on hump day. Wednesday hump day. So let's try this again. It's her bubbly personality that has captured fan fancy, with commentators already labeling her the next breakout women's star. The Canadian extrovert who confesses to possessing a type A get-it-done personality, especially on the court, is dealing with the expectations well. I'm a really focused person, really driven. Off the court, I'm almost impatient in a way, said Bouchard. On the court, I'm the same way. I really just want to play my game, be aggressive, take it to my opponent, and not just wait around and wait for opportunities. I think it's a good thing to take my chances when I'm on the court. Bouchard's not intimidated by the big stage of a Grand Slam tournament either. She says that the matches I had last year on the big courts, like Maria Sharapova at the French Open, Ivanovic at Wimbledon, just being on those big stages gave me a lot of experience, she said. Now, walking out on center court in Australia, I feel like I've been here before. I've been able to perform on big stages as well. It gives me that extra confidence. While she won't make any predictions about her match with Lee, Bouchard is fairly certain that her supporters will be tossing another stuffed Aussie animal onto the court after the match, bringing her tournament total to 5. The bulky mementos have a special place in her heart, with Bouchard bringing each new one to post-match media availability and sitting it proudly next to the microphone. Getting the growing menagerie back to Quebec should not be a problem for the resourceful Bouchard. I have a koala and kangaroo, a kookaburra, and a wombat, she said. I will create luggage space. It's worth it to take my wombat home. Well, let's hope she takes home the big prize. So stay tuned. We'll have a report tomorrow on this, and as I say, it's on tonight on TSN at 6:30. Wow, what a wonderful story! And she's the new tennis darling in Canada and the world. Okay, here's an interesting. Forgot my glass of water in here today for some reason. I don't know why. Gee, what a surprise. Offshore assets of China's elite revealed in leaked records. Files shed light on more than 20,000 tax haven clients, including relatives of the president. Chinese officials corrupt. What a concept. What a surprise. Here's the story behind the headline. Close relatives of China's top leaders have used secretive offshore companies in tax havens that helped shroud the communist elite's wealth, according to a massive cache of leaked financial records. You know, all these leaked records now, we got to thank Snowden for the whole whistleblower thing, and all these people are leaking records, and they're not afraid to do this, and it's a good thing. So, posing as a formidable challenge for presidents, we're going to have trouble with these names this morning, I guarantee you. This is Xi Jinping, the country's avowed anti-corruption leader. So here's this guy who's professing to change the way China does business and trying to get rid of he's on a platform of anti-corruption, but he himself has been guilty of corruption. Oh, gee, that's like the ethics commissioner, who turns out to be a criminal. The confidential files include details of a real estate company co-owned by Xi's brother-in-law, as well as British Virgin Islands corporations set up by former Premier Wen Jiabao's son and son-in-law, plus dozens of more cases of people tied to high-level officials. The discovery could incense ordinary citizens in China, where senior communist officials used to enjoy a modestly better living, but nothing close to the extravagant wealth required to stash money offshore. This is a quote from Fred Bild, who's Canada's ambassador in Beijing he was Canada's ambassador in Beijing from 1990 to 1994. Now the income gap between the elite and the masses is huge. You have hundreds of millions of people that are still living on very low income, and they will be outraged. The revelations are the latest from the huge trove of documents leaked to the Washington-based International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and first reported on last April in partnership with media outlets worldwide. CBC News has exclusive access in Canada to the files, which show that nearly 22,000 people with addresses in mainland China and Hong Kong are involved in offshore dealings in locales such as the British Virgin Islands and the Cook Islands, places usually associated with hidden wealth. Among them are some of China's most powerful men and women, including at least 15 of China's richest members of the National People's Congress and executives from state-owned companies entangled in corruption scandals. The political families and the elites never assumed that you could have such a public list of names coming out. This is a quote from Yves Terbergen, a political science professor at the University of British Columbia and director of its Institute of Asian Research. Terbergen compared this latest leak to the classified U.S. intelligence files disclosed by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. There was no assumption that this could come out, so that's the big shock. So, what are these leaked? What are sort of the mysteries behind the leaked records? Well, The leaked records disclose a wide array of Chinese nationals using offshore havens, often for business purposes tied to the state, entitles the state entities that they run, such as for direct foreign investments in Latin America, where Chinese companies have been expanding operations for years. But in many cases, the offshore shell corporations set up by Chinese nationals are shrouded in questions that they refused to answer. Among China's Politburo Standing Committee, the all-powerful group of 7, formerly 9, men who run the Communist Party and the country, relatives of at least 5 current or former members, have incorporated companies in the Cook Islands or British Virgin Islands. The records include details of a BVI company 50% owned by President Xi's brother-in-law, Deng Xiaojun. Deng is a millionaire real estate developer and an investor in metals used in cell phones and other electronics. Anyways, this goes on and on. The whole report, it's going to be on our newspaper site, the one that you're listening to or looking at right now. So the full story is there. So we won't go into any more detail. Every time, there's shock and amazement at this stuff, but, it doesn't surprise me. I think all of these things are now coming to roost. If you want to use the analogy of the Mayan calendar, that last year we said all this would come. This year would be the year of sort of what I call ethical cleansing, and boy, it's sure happening. Some people don't believe in that stuff, but there's a lot of things are very coincidental. So I like to call 2014 the year of ethical cleansing. I'm hoping that this ethical cleansing takes form and shape right here in Canada, because we are the last ones to admit that there's anything really wrong. We're always taught to keep quiet, not to say anything. My mother, I remember as a kid, we weren't. She said, you should always say, don't speak out loud, don't speak too loudly. If somebody was in the room that they were louder than us, it was usually an American, and they were sort of said, "Oh, the Americans are loud. Canadians are quiet. We're very patient. We'll wait in a lineup for 3 hours, never say anything. Somebody will bump into us, and we'll apologize to them." This is kind of how we've been built. This is how we grew up. This is how I grew up as a kid too, and I understand that. Having gone to school in the States and had a number of business relationships with Americans, my whole family, all my relatives are in the States. I've lived on both sides of the border. There's some wonderful qualities in Canada, and I love being here. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to stand up, and we have to speak our mind and not be afraid to do it. And we're the perfect fodder for bullies, and that is why I go on a rant every other day about Stephen Harper, because he's a bully. Rob Ford's a bully. Stephen Harper's a bully. These are the people that loved, and it seems like we're attracted to bullies, and we see nothing wrong with it, and we kind of fall into line. So the more a bully takes on a Canadian, the Canadian will cower and back down. It's not necessary. I don't think we have to be that way. And so anyways, we won't go off on that. All right, that's enough of the... And by the way, a lot of these people are setting up, are buying huge real estate developments in Canada as well, in Toronto. And of course, the obvious place is Vancouver, where the greatest Chinese population is. And you talk about a small little house in East Vancouver, looks like a crack shack, is valued at $1.6 million. The inflated prices are incredible, but the reason they're $1.6 million is somebody's going to buy the dirt and tear it down and rebuild or put up an apartment house or whatever. But these are not your average Canadian. This is not a guy from Saskatchewan, from Saskatoon, that sold his farm and said, "I'm going to come move to Vancouver and retire." Those days are gone. They used to be. That's what was the case. The prairie people would retire in Vancouver and they would be able to afford to Vancouver, Victoria. Not anymore. So you're not getting the Canadian who's spent his whole lifetime in Canada, and supporting the infrastructure, being able to go in and buy $1 million crack shack, a 1-bedroom house in Southwest Marine Drive that's valued at $1.6 million. It's insane. And the market has been driven by the very people that we're talking about this morning, with respect to the people that have come from China, And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that they are corrupt, but certainly the mentality that goes with, that sort of travels along in terms of doing business. How do they do business? Well, obviously, cash is king. They've got the cash. And I remember a real estate friend of mine sold a house, and the buyer showed up with a bag full of cash, and basically said, here's the money for the house, $1 million in cash. These are things that people don't want to talk too much about because it's nobody wants to be accused of being racist. We're very polite in Canada. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get on with what else we got here. And here's another surprise, another murder in Surrey. If Surrey continues this way with a murder a day, which is basically what's been happening, there'll be 365 murders in Surrey in a given year. And now that rivals Detroit. If you remember, Detroit used to have murder counts, daily murder counts. That's how bad it was in Detroit. Surrey's reaching that epidemic proportion, and these are all primarily targeted hits. So you're seeing a lot of predictable gang violence and targeted hits. And the only problem is that when somebody walks into a mall and is doing a targeted hit, the bullets are sprayed all over the mall, and people are ducking for cover, like they did in the Cactus Club in Burnaby. With respect to another targeted hit. So you've got this happening now. It's at epidemic proportions. I think people really need to pay attention to this. I know Diane Watts personally, the mayor of Surrey. I think she's stuck in the middle of this. She's trying to grow Surrey, trying to make it a real place for a business destination. But, it's just too spread out, and it's got too much of a history of gangs and crime and violence. It's going to be tough for her to come through this one, especially with the unfortunate murder of the woman outside the arena waiting for her son in hockey. And, she was robbed by a mentally disturbed, drug-induced guy that beat the crap out of her to steal her wallet. This is the stuff that's going on in Newton and in Surrey. So it's a huge problem. At any rate, a man's body has been discovered in a parked car in the 1800 block of 92nd Avenue. Surrey RCMP said they made the discovery around 9 a.m. Tuesday, and then an initial investigation has determined the death is a homicide. Surrey RCMP have now turned the case over to the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. We are in the early stages of the investigation, and although the cause of death will have to be confirmed through autopsy, we can say that this incident does not appear to be a random act. Police say they're asking for anyone who may have information to call the I-HIT tip line. Well, good luck with that. Very few, gang members are going to rat on other gang members, if in fact it is a gang-related hit. So big problems again in Surrey, and I think they're going to continue with the gang warfare that's going on in there. Okay. All right, so on the subject of Vancouver's housing market, we did say that Vancouver now is the second least affordable city in the world. We're not talking about Canada or North America. We're talking about the world. This international survey gives Vancouver dubious distinction for the sixth straight year. Vancouver ranks second only to Hong Kong in having the least affordable housing. This is according to Demographia's 10th annual survey of 360 housing markets in 9 Western countries. The survey divided median housing prices in Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, Ireland, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, the UK, and the US against median gross household income to come up with its ratings. Under the rating system, homes in Vancouver cost 10 times median income compared with 15 times income in Hong Kong. 3 times median income is considered affordable, but Vancouver's 10 times that. Okay? You talk about sticker shock. Well, there's a headhunter in the paper quoted, Craig Helmer is his name. He says the high cost of housing could affect some people's decision to move to Vancouver for work. Gee, you think? If you can't afford to live there, there's no point, in extolling the virtues of being able to run the seawall and go skiing up at Whistler or up at Grouse or Seymour on the same day, or you can go on a boat. Like, who does that? And is that enough? I mean, you can find. We have a gorgeous lakefront in Peachland. You can run around the lake. It's got water, and we're half an hour from a ski resort. You can go up there, but it's certainly not to the extent that this is. And you'll find other cities around the world that have water by them and lakes and mountains. But this is the myth of Vancouver. It's so beautiful. That's the price you pay for living here. It's a myth. It's an unrealistic myth. So if you're living in a 5-bedroom home in one part of the country and coming here and bringing your family and expecting to live within the city, costs go up exponentially, and it's a bit of a sticker shock. Sure. I mean, if you're coming from Newfoundland or New Brunswick, where a 5-bedroom home will cost you $165,000 in Labrador, and that home is now 1.6 million, 2.6 million, I say. It's a 5-bedroom home. So 2.6 or 3.6 million. I mean, it's more than sticker shock. It's called insanity, folks. Hammer says companies will have to keep a close eye on housing affordability if they want to keep attracting executives to Vancouver. Will they have to adjust or change, provide greater incentives, provide housing allowances that offset some of these differentials? Those are strategies that are